angry Cleveland Brown team that strode into the Orange Bowl. All week long, they had heard the same criticism, that an 8-8 record is hardly the ledger worthy of an NFL playoff team. Unfortunately for Miami, Cleveland redirected that anger to the field, forcing the Dolphins into a tough physical game, the kind of game that gave Cleveland the best chance of winning. The Miami defense reciprocated, and the hitting was fierce on both sides. But this was the Browns' type of football, not the Dolphins. And by dictating the game's early flow, Cleveland was able to get into the end zone first. Bernie Kosar's 16-yard scoring strike to Ozzie Newsome lifted Cleveland to a 7-3 first-quarter lead. Oddly enough, while there were many questions about Kosar's ability to handle the playoff pressure, it was Miami's Dan Marino who was making the mistakes common to a rookie. Don Rogers' 45-yard interception return not only nullified a potential Dolphins scoring drive, but it gave the Browns excellent field position in the half's closing minutes. Cleveland had been hoping to utilize their own strong ground game to exploit Miami's apparent weakness against the run. Behind the efforts of number 44, Ernest Biner, the Browns did more than just exploit Miami's defense. They literally exploded with a running attack that lit up the scoreboard. Biner's 21-yard score in the waning seconds of the first half extended Cleveland's lead to 11. And in the third quarter, Biner picked right up where he left off, as Cleveland continued to execute their game plan in picture-perfect fashion. Biner's 66-yard run gave the Browns a 21-3 lead, and it clearly put Cleveland into the position of pulling off one of the biggest upsets in NFL playoff history. Ironically, what the Browns had been doing was something that has been a successful part of their playbook since they first joined the league in 1950. On this hot day in Miami, Ernest Biner was forging the same trail that had been blazed by Browns from the past, like Marion Motley, Leroy Kelly, and of course the legendary Jim Brown. Biner finished the day with 166 yards on 16 carries, and did in fact break the Browns' all-time single-game playoff rushing record. Cleveland's ground attack left the Dolphins dazed and confused, but as many of their foes in the past have learned, it can be dangerous to put a sense of urgency back into an offense quarterbacked by Dan Marino. Marino rallied the Dolphins late in the third quarter with this scoring strike to veteran wide receiver Nat Moore, number 89. The Browns braced themselves for what they thought would be an all-out Marino aerial assault. Perhaps that is why they suddenly could not handle a Dolphin running game that was dormant most of the day. Ron Davenport's 31-yard touchdown run stunned the Browns, and it proved to be the game's turning point. What is surprising is that a second look at this run reveals that Cleveland's safety Don Rogers, number 20, was in a perfect position to read the play. Only his tackling was anything but ideal. In this dramatic turn of events, Rogers went from first-half hero to second-half goat, but he had plenty of company. Maybe it was the mystique of playing the Dolphins in Miami, or maybe it was just the heat that the Browns were unaccustomed to. With a Brown offense that looked so smooth early on, simply melted in the fourth quarter. And even Ernest Biner's game went the way of his helmet. The Dolphins still trailed by 4 with a little over 5 minutes remaining when Dan Marino went back to work. The Browns had easily shut down the dangerous wide receiver duo of Mark Clayton and Mark Duper, but it had been part of Marino's second-half adjustment to seek out the talents of running back Tony Nathan, number 22. Nathan latched down to 10 passes, including this nifty 39-yarder that set up Miami's game-winning touchdown. Rookie Ron Davenport completed the second greatest comeback in Miami playoff history when he bowled it over from the 1 as the Dolphins prevailed 24-21. Browns had come into the game with an angry feeling. They would leave Miami much the same way. Above all, they had to be frustrated. On a day when their long shot of a game plan seemed destined to beat Miami, Don Shula still triumphed. For the Dolphins, it's business as usual as they go on to the AFC Championship and a shot at an unprecedented 6th trip to the Super Bowl. The Los Angeles Rams defense finished out the 1985 season as the 5th highest rated in the NFL. The first week of 1986, they rang in the new year by pounding out the Dallas Cowboys. The natural turf of Anaheim was not a fast track for the Cowboys' premier running back, Tony Dorsett. Called the Ferrari of NFL running backs, Dorsett never took the checkered flag and was held to just 58 yards rushing. The Rams won this game the old-fashioned way, up front, in the trenches. They made Dallas quarterback Danny White the victim of 5 sacks and forced 3 fumbles. Rams essentially played 3 types of nickel coverage, and their most effective employed 3 linemen, 2 linebackers, and 6 defensive backs. It was their varied zone coverages mixed in with man-to-man that most confused Danny White and the Cowboys. The end result, 3 interceptions, won by All-Pro cornerback Leroy Irvin, number 47. Los Angeles clung to a 3-point halftime edge and could not extend that lead through the air. The fact is, their passing game was virtually non-existent. Quarterback Dieter Brock completed just 6 of 22 passes for 50 yards. But it hardly mattered. Those numbers proved meaningless in the long run, thanks to running back Eric Dickerson, number 29. An early season holdout prevented Dickerson from hitting his stride in the regular season, and it wasn't until the 3rd quarter that number 29 began to put it all together with a 55-yard touchdown run. In the final period, it was more of the same as Dickerson picked up key blocks from Kent Hill and Barry Redden to score his 2nd touchdown from 40 yards out. The Rams caught the Cowboys with their safeties playing up near the line of scrimmage. When running back Barry Redden blocked strong safety Dexter Clinkscale to the outside, he gave Dickerson all the daylight he needed to turn the lights out on the Cowboys. Indeed, throughout the second half, Eric Dickerson provided some frightening glimpses of power and speed seldom seen in the regular season. All told, he was the Rams' offense as he added yet another record to his professional portfolio. This one for most yards ever gained in a playoff game, 248. The Rams' 20-0 win marked the first time in 36 playoff games that the Cowboys were held without a point. Next stop for the Rams, Chicago in the NFC Championship game against the Bears. From sun-drenched L.A. to the frozen Astro Tundra of chill-filled Soldier Field. From short sleeves to long johns, the Rams will face their stiffest test of the season. The Chicago Bears defense has given opponents a chilly reception all season long. And last Sunday, the NFL's top-ranked defensive unit cast a cold eye at the visiting New York Giants. The Giants, however, refused to flinch. They moved 45 yards on their first 4 plays of this NFC Divisional playoff game. When the Bears forced and recovered number 26 Rob Carpenter's fumble, this promising drive ended up in the deep freeze. The first period saw the Giants continue to walk through a winter blunderland, and when Sean Landeta kicked a -5-yard punt, number 23 Sean Gale returned it for a touchdown. Landeta would later claim that his shank was caused by a gust of wind, but another look at the play suggests that the punter may have been unnerved by the heavily stacked left side of the Chicago rush. Unnerved enough to drop the ball low and nose down toward his instep. Hardly the way to produce a picture-perfect punt. While Gale recorded the shortest punt return in NFL playoff history, Phil Simms suffered through one of the longest afternoons in postseason annals. Simms was sacked 6 times, and his principal nemesis was number 95 Richard Dent, who registered 3.5 sacks. Chicago's front line stunted often, and this play shows Dent's looping route to the quarterback. And the number 60 Brad Benson attempted to track Dent, but was tied up by another Bears lineman, allowing the defensive end a clear path to Simms. On this stunt by the Bears, Carl Nelson, number 63, could not get over to block Dent quickly enough to prevent the sack. The deadly Dent-led defense wreaked havoc upon Simms. And when Mike Ditka's offense got back in the second half, the Bears were able to extend their 7-0 halftime lead. Intimidating New York defenders such as Lawrence Taylor, number 56, found out that when push comes to shove, Chicago's offensive line can be pretty intimidating too. Jim McMahon was never sacked in this contest, and he expertly directed a short to medium-range passing game that the Giants could not stop. While McMahon only completed 4 passes over the final 2 periods, a pair of them accounted for touchdowns, both by Dennis McKinnon, number 85. Facing a 21-point deficit going into the final quarter, Simms was finally able to hit his receivers, but the Bears were able to hit them as well. Knowing Simms had no choice but to pass constantly, Chicago blitzed frequently. Here, number 50, Mike Singletary, recorded an easy sack. The Giants were simply not equal to the task of thwarting these blitzes, as number 30, Tony Galbraith's missed block on Gary Fensick, number 45, demonstrates. Defense Chicago style helped create this 21-0 victory. Now Richard Dent and company are approaching the gun lap in the race to Super Bowl 20. Their last hurdle is the Los Angeles Rams, who will face a Chicago team that has earned a position as front runner, not by jumping over such hurdles, but by knocking them down. The Jets, 2 weeks earlier, the Patriots had not won a playoff game since 1963. To make it 2 in a row by defeating the Raiders would be a monumental task. Most felt New England's entrance onto the field last Sunday was an ominous scene, similar to the Christians' fatal walk years ago into the Coliseum in Rome. However, early in the first quarter, it appeared the Raiders were the ones who had ventured into the Lions' den. The Patriots gobbled up returner Fulton Walker's muff punt. And 2 plays later, quarterback Tony Eason escaped the jaws of the Raider defense to give New England a 7-0 lead. Tight end Lynn Dawson's touchdown provoked Los Angeles into executing a little frontier justice. An eye for an eye, a turnover for a turnover. Blocked punt resulted in a Raider field goal, and in the second quarter, Mark Wilson threw a scoring toss to Jesse Hester, number 84, to give Los Angeles a 10-7 lead. The Patriots had displayed a knack for turning the ball over all season, and with the Raiders going for the throat, New England continued to cough it up. Number 75, defensive end Howie Long, provided the pickup service. Halfback Marcus Allen was responsible for all airmail deliveries. Another look at the play confirms that while air travel is the best means of transportation, you do pay the price. Allen's well-known crash landings are quite a contrast to number 73, guard John Hanna's handle with care theory on transporting a running back into the end zone. Craig James, the first runner all year to rush for over 100 yards against Los Angeles, tightened the score to 17-10. Unfortunately for New England, the playoffs are when things usually begin to fall into place for the Raiders. But Los Angeles's charmed existence eventually appeared in jeopardy due to the efforts of an aggressive Patriot defense. Wilson threw 3 interceptions, including 2 by Ronnie Lepet, number 42. The Raiders also lost 3 fumbles, the most costly coming midway through the third quarter with a score tied at 20. Raider kick returner Sam Seal's costly mistake gave the Patriots a lead they never relinquished. A repeat of the game-winning play indicates that Seal's initial fumble was a simple miscue. However, after regaining possession, number 43's nightmare began when number 30, Mosi Tutupu, stripped the ball clean. Jim Bowman's recovery in the Raider end zone gave New England a 27-20 victory, sending the Patriots to their first AFC title game in 23 years. After a 2-3 start, the Patriots are the NFL's Cinderella team. And while some Raiders wish them luck in the championship game against Miami, there were those members of the Silver and Black who took the loss a little more to heart. With their Super Bowl dreams crushed, hopefully the Raiders will have an easier time picking up the pieces in the offseason than they did the football last Sunday.